Yoshi! Hello, strangers! So I made a blog post yesterday, and it was something I wanted to make a video about for a long time, but I didn't know how to word it, and now that I've worded it out in blog form, I can sort of put it in video form. This topic is my life through video games. So I've been into video games all my life. I haven't played all my life, but I've been watching my older siblings play, like, Lego Star Wars and FIFA, and so I was, kind of raised by watching all of that to love it. One of my first memories of playing video games is with my sister. We had a Nintendo 64, and I remember playing Yoshi Story like hours on end. So my brother had a Game Boy Color. The first game he ever showed me on the Game Boy Color was Link's Awakening, and that was the first Legend of Zelda game I've ever played, and it started my love for Legend of Zelda. It was just, such a good game. That opening screen, like booting up the Game Boy Color and having that, the screen pop up for Link's Awakening, is one of my most vivid memories to date. After that, I began loving the Legend of Zelda series. I played Ocarina of Time, I played, Skyward Sword, which came out recently. I played, a bunch of the classics. The first gaming system I owned personally was the Game Boy Advance. I got this when I was 10 or 11 years old, and I was obsessed with it. I had it until I was 13, I think, and then I lost it, which was so sad. One of my more vivid memories, again, another video game memory, was we were doing spring cleaning. My mom wanted everyone to pitch in and get rid of all the crap that we had. And I was sitting there in some lawn chair playing Pokemon Sapphire the entire time. That was all I did. It was great. Even though I don't have my Game Boy, I don't have all the games, but I have the games that I actually really played, because, some of the games were stupid, like Pets and, dumb things. But I have, let's see, what do I have? Super Mario Bros. 3. I love Pokemon Ruby. I remember playing Pokemon Sapphire, but I own Pokemon Ruby. I don't know how that happened. Mrs. Pac-Man, always a good one. And, some more Mario games and stuff. A few years earlier was when the Nintendo DS started becoming popular. And I was the kid playing my Game Boy Advance while everyone was playing the DS, and I was like, no, I like, low-resolution games like Pokemon and stuff. Shortly after I lost my Game Boy Advance, I got Nintendo DS Lite. Blue. I still play games on my Nintendo DS, and I'm not conforming to 3DS just yet, but I might cave in. I don't know, man. One of my favorite video games, and one of the greatest video games of all time, as I mentioned before, is Pokemon. It's just one of the greatest series ever. It's definitely one of the more evolved series of all time. And I only played Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. And that's all I wanted to play. That was my perfect, origin of Pokemon. I didn't want to go to Diamond, I don't want to go Pearl. My friends convinced me to play Pokemon Black and White, and I was hooked. I played that game, I finished that game in a week. I was the only girl that played Pokemon because I was cool. I think it was a little earlier, it was before I moved when I got my Wii. And that was me being kind of a girly gamer. Played the Hannah Montana game, played a lot of Animal Crossing. Not my proudest moments. But then I got started into Super Smash Brothers. So the Wii is usually only used for when people come over or any new Zelda games come out, which isn't very common. So over 2 years ago, I got my pride and joy, my Xbox 360. Skyrim, Portal 2, and Assassin's Creed, the whole series. I really started loving RPGs when you can customize your character, you can be in the game yourself, which is really what I liked about video games, the whole interactiveness of it. I had a very overactive imagination. I was like, oh, I want to be in this cool fantasy land, or I want to, be a hunter or a witch or a dragon slayer or something. So why is this important? I thought, my story of video games kind of translates into history of video games as a whole. If you notice, Nintendo is mentioned throughout the entire story. I've been a Nintendo fan. Everybody's a Nintendo fan from the get-go. They're, I think, the oldest game company ever. And so, you kind of got your main sources of games from there. You have an entirely wide demographic. If you ask people that are my age what their first game was, it'll probably be something on maybe the Game Boy or something like that. But if you ask somebody in their 20s or 30s what their first game was, it could be something on the NES or the Nintendo 64. So you got this huge range of people, but all still originating from Nintendo. That's kind of the jumpstart of the gaming world as it is. And Nintendo is trying to do more complex games. They're trying to do more stuff that they compete with Sony and they can compete with Microsoft. so they can get, that upper advantage. What they're really good at is cooperative and also just simple games with characters we all love. They don't need to make like a zombie game or something. We can get that from the Xbox or we can get that from PlayStation. But we can't get stuff that Nintendo has, like Super Smash Bros. Or Zelda or Metroid or something like that. They have exclusive characters that nobody else can franchise off of, and they're trying to do more complex things that Xbox and PlayStation have already taken care of. Which, is kind of stupid to me because they've got everything locked up. What are your opinions on this? What's your favorite game company? Who do you think is reigning right now? And what's your favorite game that you ever played? Later, strangers.